Motion by Christensen, second by Mr. Carlampio. Mr. Carlampio, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Christensen?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Jones says aye. Area 1 is vacant, and Area 2 is vacant. All right, public comments. Public comments are restricted only to the agenda items for this special meeting. Individual speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Per legislation 1292, the board will give twice the allotted time to members of the public who utilize translation technology or assistance to address the board. Total public input on any one topic will be limited to 20 minutes. Speakers will be called in the order that the cards were submitted. Superintendent Garza-Gonzalez, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we've received 5. The first speaker is Bill O'Connor. Mr. O'Connor also has a letter that he would like the board to receive. Mr. O'Connor?
Hey, hang on just a second, we're getting some paperwork set up here. Okay, go ahead, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The 3 members, Paul, Oscar, and Eddie, I appreciate being here, and the superintendent, thank you. I'm here to endorse one of the candidates that is seeking the Area 1 position. It's a kind of a new thing for me. When I ran for the board, we were a single district, and we just put our names in. So I know it's a little more difficult today. So anyway, basically, I've known Jim for a number of decades. He's a hard worker. He's focused on education. I've indicated some of the things in the letter to you in terms of his background. He's a supporter of Fallbrook Union High School District longer than even I am, and I go back 40, 50 years. He has also done more than just work for the high school. He's a participant in the community for many decades, and the food pantry, the Conservancy, and the Beautification Alliance, and many other areas. So I'd just like to quote on that. In closing, I would like to thank you all, not you personally, but you collectively, as continuing what we do here at Fallbrook. And just 2 months ago, my daughter received a letter from the University of Edinburgh indicating she had passed all of her work to get a doctorate degree. And that was only possible with the hard work of this high school and of the Ronzel Elementary School District at the time. So I applaud you all, wish you all the best, and good luck in your search. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jennifer Jeffries.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jennifer Jeffries. I'm a resident of Zone 1, and I'm also a retired superintendent from the Fallbrook Union Elementary School District, full disclosure. I'm here to speak in support of Jim Dooley's Goodley application to fill Zone 1. I start by their community-wide reputation related to their deep involvement with their church for many years, taking leadership roles, as well as with the Fallbrook Beautification Alliance, their commitment to so many things in our town. Specifically, their deep interest and genuine interest in teenagers is borne out by volunteering to take international teenage students into their home on a regular basis on exchanges. So their knowledge of the teen goes deep and wide, and also their presence on this campus, coming to activities that the international students participate in the stands for the football games very regularly. He's a retired executive and understands how complex organizations work. High schools are complex. I've studied many community issues with him, and I could attest to the fact that he applies logic and extends goodwill. Those things together can make a school board even stronger than it is now. In addition, they were elected Citizens of the Year for 2022. Well, maybe 2023 too, but 2022, and they were the grand marshals for the Christmas parade. And I would say that's a nod about their knownness in this community and how they are very, very well recognized and respected. So good luck on your interviews.
Thank you.
Patrick Christman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to address this item. I'm here to endorse, as some of the others have, Jim Dooley for the position. I've lived here in Fallbrook for about 28 years. My children have both attended the Fallbrook school districts, both in the grade school and the high school. And so I've had a chance to become very familiar with Fallbrook. In my last position, I was the director, the Marine Corps' Western Regional Director and the Assistant Chief of Staff for Government External Affairs. So my office had much to do with working with government entities from cities, counties, state, federal governments all across the Western region. We also dealt with a number of school issues, at the legislative issues and the policy issues. So that gave me a very broad background in terms of looking for the people who should be representing us on school boards and things like that. I would like to endorse Jim, and this is the first time I've ever endorsed a candidate for an office in my almost 30 years of working with governmental entities. He brings, I think, special sets of skills to the board, not only in terms of his leadership abilities, as you've already heard, but in terms of his technical abilities as well, dealing with financial issues, engineering issues, contract issues, all those kind of things. So I would heartily encourage you to consider him seriously as a candidate and look forward to working with him and the other people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Leticia Maldonado Stamus.
Good afternoon, Fallbrook High School Board President Jones and members of the board. My name is Leticia Maldonado Stamos. I have lived in Fallbrook for nearly 30 years and have been actively involved in a wide variety of community organizations. I'm fully invested in my community. I'm here to speak on behalf of Jim Dooley, being considered for the appointed position of board member representing District 1. As you all know, anyone who is 18 years of age or older, a citizen, a resident of a school district, a registered voter, and not disqualified by the Constitution or laws of the state from holding a civil office is eligible to serve on a school board. Mr. Dooley meets all those criteria, as do, I am assuming, anyone else being considered. However, that doesn't mean that anyone who meets all the criteria is qualified. And even if they are all qualified, they are not all equally qualified. Mr. Jim Dooley has been very active in making Fallbrook a safe and healthy place for families to live and grow for nearly 50 years. As the other previous speakers have said, he's been involved in education and in numerous activities and events and projects in Fallbrook, as has been his wife, Jean, a retired public school teacher, since making Fallbrook their home. He didn't just become interested in the last couple of years. He's well known and highly regarded because of his civil engagement in personal commitment in Fallbrook. Last year, Mr. Dooley chose to run a full campaign to be elected as board member for this district. He came in second with less than 200 votes. No one else being considered has made that personal, economic, and quite frankly, psychological commitment to this school district. This is not politics. We don't have to go very far to see how politics can affect negatively our local agencies. Our children, our young people, deserve the best. They deserve Mr. Jim Dooley. No one you are considering is more qualified than Mr. Dooley. He will act on behalf of the public. He can be trusted to govern our public school fairly and fully. He will be responsive to our community and ensure accountability, among other things. I urge you to appoint Jim Dooley to serve District 1 of the high school district. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Susan Liebes?
Good afternoon, Board and Superintendent. I'm Susan Liebes. I am a community member and parent of an incoming 9th grader, and also here in support of Jim Dooley. I've volunteered with him for years, and I've seen his thoughtful decision-making and his commitment to our community and his service-oriented lifestyle. So I hope that you will consider him, and I know there's a lot of other parents who would like to see him on this board as well. They're out driving their kids to soccer practice and doing Girl Scout tables, but I think you've gotten some emails from some of them, so I hope you will take all of those into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Lee DeMayo.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of the board and some of my friends here who were my friends when I served on this board. Nice to see you guys, Superintendent. I'm very happy to be here tonight. Since I left the board, I believe it was 2 years ago, I purposely stayed out of this until something came up that was really important. And I'm here today because this is really important. And I'm here to support Kelly Hansen for this position. I believe that Kelly is actually the right person for this job. When I was on the board here, there were three things that I kept that were really important. Number one is, and we all talk about this in board speak and everything else, you talk about stakeholders. You hear about that in the local control accountability plan, all that stuff, and that the stakeholders have to have a say. Well, for me, there are 3 levels of stakeholders, and those stakeholders, the first level was the kids, the students. Every decision that I made, and I hoped every decision that the board members with me made, was based on what is best for our kids. So that was first. Second, the other second group of stakeholders that are, I guess in our country these days, have been ignored a lot, and that is the parents. Members of the board, it is the parents who've elected you here. They are the stakeholders that are important. It is important for the parents to have the say in their public school kids' education. Kelly Hansen has 4 kids, all of them in our elementary school district. One of them will end up, should she serve in this term, one of them will end up in our high school here. I was very glad over the years to see the great things that was done in this high school. God, I'm finally happy to see the bowl is finished. For those of you who know the fight that was about. But I'm imploring you to consider Kelly Hansen. She hasn't been here in the community as long as others, but she and her family have made this community their own. She's involved with her kids in all the local activities, Little League, these things that are here in Fallbrook, and she's probably the busiest person I know. She works hard. Nobody works harder than she does. Kelly Hansen is absolutely the right person to represent the parents, the kids, and by the way, the third set of stakeholders is the teachers. We won't forget them too. So please, I encourage you to really look into the qualifications of Kelly Hansen. She has her own foundation board that she runs. She is truly one of the most busy people I know, and effective and dedicated at everything she puts her hand to. And that will be the same here for the kids, the parents, and the teachers here in Fallbrook High School. So please consider her. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There are no more public verbal comments.
All right, thank you. Okay, the board will review all qualified candidates to fill the trustee area. The district invited candidates for provisional appointment to the board vacancy for trustee Area 1. The board subcommittee, consisting of trustee Paul Christensen and Oscar Carlampio, screened the applicants for the minimum legal qualifications on Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. All board members have had the opportunity to review the qualifying applications for the provisional appointment. Superintendent Garza Gonzalez will now explain the process for this meeting.
Board of Trustees, each of you has a folder, and I would like to review the materials so that you know where to find and what to do with each of the items. At the January 28th regular board meeting, trustee Paul Christensen and trustee Oscar Caralampio were selected as a subcommittee for this provisional appointment. On February 8th, they reviewed the applications and confirmed that all candidates met the initial qualification criteria. In your folder, you have the completed application for each candidate. The application questionnaire includes the candidate's education and employment history, references, past committee, commission, or board experience, and 13 questions. You'll find the schedule for this meeting, which includes each of the 3 qualified candidates and their assigned interview time. Each candidate will come in individually. They'll be asked to give a 2-minute personal statement before beginning the interview process. This will be followed by 6 questions. Our timekeeper will ensure that each candidate only receives 15 minutes for their interview, including the 2 minutes for their opening statement. Carmen Hatcher, Executive Assistant, will let each candidate know when they have 5 minutes remaining, as well as how many questions they have left at that point. The timekeeper will stop each interview at the exact minute mark. Brenda Mefford, our Chief Business Officer, will be escorting the candidates to the podium when it is their turn to interview. You'll note inside of your folders that there are note-taking and scoring sheets for each candidate if you choose to use them. Keep in mind that the folders and all of the items in them will be collected at the end of the process. This is the process the district follows when interviewing candidates for any position within our district. At the end of the interview process, there is time built in for a short break. It is important that as a board, you do not discuss anything related to the interviews or the candidates. The break is simply intended to get a little refreshment, use the restroom, and allow you time to collect your thoughts and review your notes so that you are prepared to discuss the interviews and make a provisional appointment. The last thing that I would like to say about the process is that it is critical that each candidate who comes in this evening is asked the same exact questions in the same exact format. If a candidate should ask for a question to be repeated, you may repeat the question. However, if a candidate should ask for any clarification, all you can do is repeat the question. The purpose behind this is to be fair so that each candidate receives the same input throughout the entire process. You will find in the folders the 6 questions selected for the interview. This is the only legal opportunity the board has to make changes to the questions. Once I receive the green light from you, the first candidate will receive the questions. Each candidate will have 10 minutes with the questions before they come in to interview. The questions will be asked in the same order and by the same trustee. At this time, if you want to make any revisions to the questions, additions to the questions, or omit questions, please let me know and Ms. Hatcher will make those changes quickly. Any discussion?
Not for me.
Okay, so I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to look over these questions, and then we'll change them or let you know in just a minute, okay?
Any revisions?
I do not.
None for me.
I also want to add that Carrie McNally, our legal counsel, is present today to assist the board with any procedural questions or concerns. The board will now take a 10-minute recess to allow the first candidate 10 minutes to review the questions. Ms. Mefford, could you make sure that the candidate has the questions?
Hello.
Give me just a second and okay, we ready? Okay, first candidate is James Dooley. Good evening and thank you for your interest in the board vacancy for trustee Area 1. For clarification, this position is a provisional appointment through November 2024. The selected candidate has the option to run in the 2024 election for completing the remaining 2 years of the term. You are allowed 15 minutes for each applicant today. You'll have 2 minutes to give your opening statement. Following your opening statement, we have 6 questions to ask you. You may take as little or as much time for each question as you wish, but the board will stop after 15 minutes even if all the questions have not been addressed. The board is interested in your responses to all the questions, so please keep the time limit in mind as you respond. You'll be notified there are 5 minutes remaining and how many questions you have remaining. Please begin with your 2-minute opening statement and where you tell us about yourself. Please begin with your 2-minute opening statement where you tell us about yourself. Be sure to indicate experience and relevant to this position and the strengths you may have. Ms. Garza-Gonzalez, who will be giving him a 5-minute cue? Is that me?
That is Ms. Hatcher.
Okay, Ms. Hatcher is over here. She's got the clock. All right?
Thank you. I am Jim Dooley, and thank you for allowing me to introduce myself. Some of you know I was a candidate in the recent election for Area 1. Part of the reason I decided to run at that time was that I wanted to be sure that Area 1 voters had a candidate who was supportive of public schools and believes in science. My understanding of the responsibilities of the board are to provide a good learning environment for all students, to provide a good workplace for teachers and staff, and to represent the community so that the school is a source of pride for the community. I believe I have the experience, the time, and the background, and the interest in helping fulfill these goals. A little about me. I'm a retired engineer. My wife and I have 2 sons who were born in Fallbrook and graduated from Fallbrook High School. I am a professional engineer. I worked for 35 years in private industry. I taught at a junior college as an adjunct professor and also in a master's program. I have an engineering degree and an MBA with a finance emphasis. I am also the current treasurer of a local church, and I have previously served as the chair of the trustees and the chair of finance. My wife and I have hosted 12 exchange students who attended Fallbrook High, and through that I've had regular contact with counselors, teachers, and staff. I see my time is running out. I'm currently a liaison. I've been current liaison for a number of students who attended Fallbrook High, and I am ready for your questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we'll go ahead and start with questions.
Question number 1. Mr. Dooley, what differentiates you from other candidates and/or board members?
I think I'm probably the only engineer among the group. I've worked in private industry for 30 plus years. I was a candidate in the recent election. I'm sure you are all candidates, but if there are other people presenting themselves, they were not. I'm sure of that. And as being a candidate, I was invited to an orientation presented by the superintendent and the legal staff of the school, and was given quite a bit of information about what the responsibilities of the school or the board are, and was given a copy of the governance, which I've read. So I believe that gives me a head start on being ready to serve on the board.
Mr. Dooley, what do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
Would you repeat the question?
Yes. What do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
Oh, thank you. Well, I think the main function is to provide an excellent learning opportunity for all students. Further, the board sets the policies and directs the superintendent in carrying out the administrative duties of the school. The board members are the voice for the community and should be open to receiving information from the community as to how they would like for the school to function. My next question.
Mr. Dooley, how can a Board of Education best communicate with its constituent groups?
Be open to the community, reach out and be available and listen, and act as a liaison between the community, the members, and through the board to the school. Next question.
Mr. Dooley, what is your vision for education in this community?
Make sure that all students have access to a good education and are prepared for college or for a vocation. Also, that they learn to interact with others responsibly, maintain good conduct on school. And I think possibly an area that has been lacking is learning the administration of the government, how it works, civics classes, for instance, because from my experience, when I read about what students know, there seems to be some holes in how the government works. Like, what are the governing bodies of our country? That should be basic information. Next question.
Mr. Dooley, what changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
On a state level, I think we're all aware that not all schools are equal in either facilities, probably staff, and financing. And students that go to schools that are not serving their students well are handicapped throughout life. So I don't have an answer for that, but it is certainly something that needs to be addressed. We need to provide good opportunities for all students in the state. On a local level, I have a lot of feedback because we've hosted a lot of students that attend Fallbrook High. The first perception is when I ask, well, how's school? They like it. They like it because it offers a lot of extracurricular activities that they don't get at home. Another impression they have is that classes are easier. I don't take that necessarily as a flaw in Fallbrook High because generally these exchange students are academically high performing, and in a lot of countries, kids go to different tracks. And if you're high performing, you go to a higher level school. Fallbrook doesn't operate that way, but within Fallbrook, there's certainly opportunity for challenging classes, AP classes. Last year, we had 2 exchange students, a girl from Germany that we hosted, and I think she ended up with all A's. She was disappointed in her her honors math class because she missed being an A+ by 1 point. But it was a challenging class for her. She had to work at it. The other exchange student took 3 AP classes, and she ended up with all A's too. She is also a high-performing student. But the host family was concerned because she spent so much time studying that they felt like they didn't get the full experience of hosting. And when students arrive, I don't necessarily encourage them to take AP classes because I know that it's going to take a lot of time and it'll take away from a lot of their other learning experiences. But if they want to be challenged, I certainly don't discourage it. So the fact that they say the classes are easier, that is true depending on what classes you take. But if you are want to be academically challenged, I know that there's opportunity through the IB program and the AP classes.
Thank you. I believe this is the last question. How would you determine your budget priorities?
Well, I have had the responsibility of setting budgets both in private industry and in nonprofits, particularly the church. I've set budgets for a number of years. And setting budgets is always a matter of balancing the most critical needs and the resources available. And in order to do a good job of budgeting, you have to allocate the resources so that they will do the most good for the purposes that you have the responsibility to fulfill. Is that all the questions? Am I done?
Yes. Thank you for your time and interest. You're welcome to join the audience for the remainder of the interviews. When all the interviews are complete, the board will discuss and vote to select the provisional appointment to governing area position for trustee area 1.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next candidate is Catherine or Kathy English. Good evening and thank you for your interest in the board vacancy for trustee area 1. For clarification, this position will be a provisional appointment through November 2024. The selected candidate has the option to run in the 2024 election to complete the remaining 2 years of this term. We have allowed 15 minutes for each applicant today. You will have up to 2 minutes to give an opening statement. Following your opening statement, we have 6 questions for you. You may take as little or as much time for each question as you wish, but the questions will stop after 15 minutes, even if all the questions have not been answered. The board is interested in your responses to all the questions, so please keep time limit in mind as you respond. You'll be notified by Carmen when there are 5 minutes remaining and how many questions you have remaining. Please begin with your 2-minute opening statement where you tell us about yourself. Please be sure to include experiences relevant to this position and the strength you bring as a member of this board.
Hi, my name is Kathy English. My contributions to the board would be I've been a chief business official at school districts for the last 12 years. I have since retired. Prior to that, I worked at a school district and worked my way up from a secretarial type position. I've worked with boards for the last 20 years, whether it be at actual board meetings or just dealing with board members. So I think that's an experience that not everybody has. And being retired, I can devote more time to the school.
Thank you. First question. What differentiates you from other candidates and/or board members?
Basically, a lot of it would be the desire to have what's right for the kids and move these things forward for our children. Also, being the budget side of it, the financial side of it, I think that helps. Having someone on the board that does understand the financials, whether it be something that the state requires or the state refuses to require. Sometimes people don't understand what Title I monies are and that they can only be spent in a certain way, so they get frustrated. So I think knowing that and understanding that does help, and it would help the entire board, I believe.
Ms. English, what do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
The Board of the Education oversees the district and what their goals and what they set for their goals. So typically every district has a goal that they set every year with their administrators, and we try to, as a board, bring those to fruition and help the district to do that. As a board member, we don't go and talk to the administrators and try to give them ideas. The administrators and the district have ideas of their own, and we help move those forward. So basically, we work directly with the superintendent, which is the way I've always understood it, our employee. But we don't work with all of the administrators. We work with that particular superintendent and then branch out from there.
How can the Board of Education best communicate with its constituent group?
I think that getting people to come to the meetings is extremely important. When you have 1,000 students and you have 4 people in your attending the board meetings, it's not getting it out there the way that we really should be able to. And I think a lot of it is communicating that out, and that they can make a difference too. Every parent can make a difference in the school district. Everybody has ideas. Doesn't mean that the board has these ideas or the superintendent or the cabinet of the superintendent. Anybody can have ideas to make schools better. And I think going out, maybe to your LCAP meetings, going out to different community functions, letting people know that you're on the board and that you're doing what you can for the students in Fallbrook.
Next question is, what is your vision for education in this community?
I don't know that it's my vision, it's what is the district's vision. And whatever the district's vision is, then that way we can project that forward. That's kind of a fine line to me, because it's the district that comes up with the vision. And then we move that forward in whatever agendas we need to do. If we can help in any way, communicate that out to the public and the parents, what the vision is for the district. So at the district meets, they make those vision decisions. And as a board, we look at them and make suggestions, but it's ultimately the district's vision.
Next question. What changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
That's a hard one, being in the district before. The state makes many choices and decisions based on their seats, not based on what each district needs. Fallbrook would need different mandates possibly than Oceanside, depending upon your clientele, your students. It's based on what the district needs. It's not always what the state, there's a lot of things the state can change in every aspect. But financially wise, I've always seen the finance side of it. The state requires you to spend X dollars on X items. But you can be creative and use those to what's best for our students. And you have to go by what the state says or you don't get the funding. So you do the best you can with what you have. And be honest, on local level, I don't know what our local level public education is doing at this point in time. If I don't get appointed, I will still attend the meetings and I'll learn more. And I will continue to volunteer, if nothing else. With COVID being here recently, it kind of put a damper to everything, and I've only been here for 4 years. So take a year out of those 4 years, it kind of makes you pretty much new here. So not much I can do with the state. I'd like to strangle them sometimes, but.
All right, last question. How would you determine your budget priorities?
That again goes kind of back to what is the vision for the district, but also being able to take care, what is best for the students. A lot of districts have cut out many things. They've cut out arts, they've cut out sports. I think those are really important for kids. It gives you the well-rounded child that needs to be brought up in the communities, that needs to lead us in the future. If we don't have those things, and a lot of that is due to budget priorities, and sometimes you can do fundraising, you can go out and look for different kinds of financing, grants, a lot of different things that we can do that a lot of people don't really look for, and small communities can get grants to bolster their budget, which then gives you more money to educate your kids, because it all falls back on finances and having good staff and good teachers. And I have 5 minutes left, but I'm good. I'm very to the point. This is who I am, so.
Yeah, I think we had some extra time here. So thank you for your time and interest. You are welcome to join the audience for the remainder of the interviews. When all the interviews have been complete, the board will discuss and vote to select the provisional appointment to the governing board position for trustee area 1.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, our third candidate is Kelly Hansen. Thank you and good evening, and thank you for your interest in the board vacancy for trustee area 1. For clarification, this position will be a provisional appointment through November of 2024. The selected candidate will have the option to run in the 2024 election to complete the remaining 2-year term. We have allowed 15 minutes for each application today. You will be given up to 2 minutes to give an opening statement. Following your opening statement, we have 6 questions to ask you. You may take as little or as much time for each question as you wish, but the questions will stop after 15 minutes, even if all the questions have not been addressed. The board is interested in your responses for all the questions, so please keep the time limited in mind as you respond. You'll be notified by Carmen when you have 5 minutes remaining and how many questions you have remaining. Please begin with your 2-minute opening statement to tell us about yourself. Be sure to include experience relevant to this position and the strength you will bring as a member of this board.
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Kelly Hansen, and I am a mother of 4 boys who are at Fallbrook Union Elementary School District. And so I have a very vested interest, obviously, in being on the board and hoping for their future here at Fallbrook High School. All 4 of them will attend Fallbrook High School. And having lived here for 8 years in Fallbrook, we have attended many sports. My kids play countless sports on different teams here within Fallbrook, and we've been able to meet so many people of this community. So I'm very hopeful that I can be a good liaison between parents and teachers and meet the students' needs here on the board. So I'm a small business owner. I currently sit on the board of the Fallbrook Planning Group. I was just elected here. And I really do believe that since I was elected for the Fallbrook Planning Group, I do serve our community. And our community has already spoken and said they want me on that board, so I think it would be a great transition for me to be on school board as well. So I have worked in finance, marketing, customer service, and business development. And each one of these roles has helped me just work with people with different personalities. And I enjoy being a liaison between people and networking with people. It's one of my gifts, and it's something that I love to do. So something that I would bring here for the school board. These jobs have taught me how to work well with others, how to be wise and strategic, and how to use the funds for an organization wisely. And I like to logically assess each circumstance and create an open environment where ideas and thoughts can be shared freely. So that's something I would want to bring to the board. I do believe that it's very important to have a woman's perspective as well on the board. So I'm so stoked that you are 3 strong men who are here and willing to listen to the community and work for the community and help our students, but I do think a woman's voice, especially a mother's perspective, would be well received. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hansen. First question, what differentiates you from other candidates and/or board members?
So in the past, I have worked on a campaign, and I was able to go up and down California. So I think I bring just a networking capability, able to work with different people from all different aspects of life and take some of their feelings, their thoughts, and bring it into the school board and make sure that we are serving our community. Being a mother, I obviously know how to work with different personalities, but also be strategic with my time.
Ms. Hansen, what do you see as the primary work of the Board of Education?
Well, obviously, to educate our youth is very important. So working with the funds that we receive from the government, working together with the community, and also obviously working with the teachers, the students, and the parents to make sure that each kid gets the education that they deserve and that they need. A lot of times we're going to have to work with different cultures and different backgrounds, people who might struggle with the language, and I think that as the board, we need to come behind those parents, help them to educate their children.
How can the Board of Education best communicate with its constituent groups?
So one of the things that I would love to do is create activities. I'm sure there's plenty out there, but creating activities where we get to be with the community, talk to the parents, hear what's troubling their children at school, what we can improve on. So having activities, and then just going into our society and making sure that everybody's voice is being heard. Obviously, too, I would say through email communications, having your phone lines open so that when parents have problems, teachers have problems, students, we're there for them.
Fourth question, what is your vision for education in this community?
So my vision, is that the time? We lost the clock there. Okay. So my vision for the education, honestly, would be to get the parents to come behind our students. I think a lot of times students do struggle, so I want to go into the community and educate them on how they can get involved with their children And I think my vision for education would just be straightforward education. Get these kids to a point where they can contribute to society, they can be educated and go get jobs and become employees and employers, and just a community effort behind these kids. And then using our funds strategically in order to educate them, and really looking at each of the programs and deciding if these programs are still working, look at the stats, and then decide going forward if we want to continue those programs or not.
Ms. Hanson, what changes should be made on the state and local level regarding public education?
So this one is tough, but I would say that I do believe that local government should have more of a say in each of their educational systems. The reason for that is each community is very different. As I spoke on before, sometimes you'll have language barriers that are a little bit more difficult in certain locations than others. You might have a more rural feel in your community, so now we need to educate people who are going to go into farming and different industries. So I do believe that it should come down to a local decision more so than a state governance. And I do believe that sometimes looking at different bureaucracies that have been set up by the state, they don't necessarily work in each local county. So taking a look at those, I would love for the state to kind of give over some of those powers to the local governance.
All right, thank you. Last question. How would you determine your budget priorities?
So as far as the budget goes, I think this is one that would take a lot of time to look over. Something that we would want to discuss with each of the teachers, the HR, all of the board members, and obviously the parents and students, and decide what is the top priority for their education and safety. And you need to listen to the community and take a look at the assets and physical needs of the schools. Sometimes we're going to need to use the budget because a school building is falling down, for instance. And so really taking a look each time and not doing a blanket statement on the budget each year, but really look each year, each semester at what we're going to do with those funds.
Okay. Thank you for your time and interest. You are welcome to join the audience for the remainder of the interviews. This is the last one. When all interviews are complete, the board will discuss and vote to select a provisional appointment to the governing board for trustee area 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The board will now take a few minutes to review our notes. We respectfully ask for the community to remain silent while we kind of organize our thoughts here. Okay. All right, so we'll start this process by just kind of discussing some of the positive attributes of each candidate. And then when we kind of go around that a couple times, I mean, this is just sort of a free-for-all, but we'll start by just sort of talking about what we liked about the candidates or what our first impressions were. Would anybody like to start?
I'll go first. First and foremost, thank you for all three candidates. I can't see where you're at. But I appreciate your time and energy going forth with this. It is a big commitment. So I applaud you on that commitment that you're giving your time and energy for something that's a much bigger, broader experience that's not so much self-fulfilling, but fulfilling for the kids and the students and the teachers and parents around that you're overall, great candidates. You guys all have an immense background, variety of background that stands out. Each of you have a lot of great strengths that I could go on and on about that I'd be telling you about yourself. But a lot of great background that I think each and every one of you would be able to influence and support students and parents in all avenues of the school board. Some of the things that coming into this that being new to the board, things that I've learned in the few months that I've been here, but things that I think are important to the school board is having that connection to the community and being able to reach out with kids or parents, the administration and the teachers. Having that connection to the community is really important. Having the technology to be able to reach out to community members that maybe are not in our immediate circle, but be able to influence those that are outside of our circle and reach out to maybe members that we aren't familiar with or familiar with us, and being open to those attributes I think is really important. And then overall having a lot of the local knowledge, being residents here is great. Having that local knowledge to know where the schools have come from and where they're going, not just on an administrative level, but also as a student and parental vision of kind of what's going on in society in itself, of identifying what's important to the parents as a whole. We listen to every parent, we listen to every student. A couple of the candidates talked about doing what's best for the most good. And it's also about listening to every parent, regardless of whether we agree or disagree. So I applaud all three of you, excuse me. Those are just some of the avenues that I'm looking at in choosing helping to support a board member that's coming on. So I'll leave it to any more discussion.
Yeah, I also want to say, echo what Paul started with. This is very awkward for us. This is awkward to have an interview where we've got to talk about those people in front of you. So I know it's difficult to be up there. This is not comfortable for us either. Thank you, all three of you. Again, similar to Paul, all three had really good qualities that I liked. Not Paul, you're Paul. Mr. Dooley, I really appreciate his commitment to running on the school board back from November. I have seen him in the crowd on many or maybe all of the board meetings since before that November election. So I really appreciate his commitment and effort to be on this board after losing a close election. So I really applaud that. Mr. Dooley also has a very strong resume. I appreciate that he has an engineering perspective, and I know that engineers are smart and think things through very analytically, so appreciate that. And finally, for Mr. Dooley, the fact I think I heard that he had 12 exchange students that he has hosted here, which is just remarkable. Not only does he have students in our school, but he's hosted them from a foreign country, so I appreciate that. Miss English, kind of the newest member maybe to our community, so not quite as much history, but I do appreciate your work as a CBO. I think that's important also. It's probably I don't want to say everything's important up here, right? But I do appreciate that perspective and think that's good. I think you had a good plan on, there was a question about communicating, and I really like I liked all the answers, but I particularly liked that answer where you talked about being out there in the community, being at events, school events to meet our parents. I thought that was very good. Ms. Hanson, also appreciate your I don't know, is that you in the back there? Thank you. Being on another board, being elected to the planning group and representing us there, and then branching out here. You have a lot of great energy, and I also appreciate what you said about having a woman's perspective. That's important to me. So I think in a nutshell, those are the highlights that I was most impressed on the candidates.
Just going to keep it really brief. I want to thank everybody who came, and spoke during the public comments. Your input is something that we take into consideration. I also want to thank all three candidates who took the time to come over here. This is definitely a position that requires a lot of time commitment and passion, and I saw that in every single one of you. So I just want to thank all of you for your time and for being here.
So now gets to the hard part, because we need to basically come to a point where we can decide on one person and not the other. So does anybody else have any further discussion?
Just going off each candidate, Mr. Dooley, you stand out in the community for many years. I think it was 45 years. I've been in the community for about 43, so that's commendable, and you have a lot of great history going forward and in the past for this community, and you're well involved with a lot of things. I remember seeing you at the Christmas parade riding through. I will say my concern, Mr. Dooley, is that I think you have a ton of connection in the community on an age level where I'm concerned that parents coming up through the elementary school, students coming up through the elementary school aren't familiar with you or aren't connected with you as well, and that would be my only concern for you, whether that's accurate or not. Again, this is an awkward experience being up here to more or less debate who should be up here, but your community involvement stands out incredibly. Miss English, your experience level, I'm not sure where she is. Your experience level speaks very highly of you, and I think that would be an incredible benefit for the school board. And again, my concern would be the connection in the community and being able to reach out, being a kind of a shorter term resident, knowing some of the local knowledge, and that is something that comes with time. Mrs. Hanson, up in the top there, I think the thing that stood out for me was when you mentioned the female perspective of being a mother. That's something that 3 male board members and 1 vacancy, I think that is an attribute that definitely should be looked at, because I think that's a perspective that we can't provide, obviously, and I think that's something the community would strive to enjoy, and having that. I don't need all my constituents or people that I represent in my area to come to me. If they don't want to speak to me, they may want to speak to a female. I think that's a great opportunity to be on the board and have that female or motherly perspective. And I do understand how connected you are in the community with 4 kids coming up in various sports. I think those are tremendous things to bring to the board as well. The planning committee is also shows that you are committed and have the experience and knowledge moving forward on different avenues throughout the community. So I think the one thing for you is that this has been more work, anticipating what it was going to be for me being new. This has been more work for me than I anticipated. All very good things, and I'm not complaining by any means, but it is busier than what it just looks out on the outside of coming to board meetings. So anticipate that with your family and your husband as well. So that's all I wanted to say for that.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion, have further discussion?
We making a motion to vote?
Yeah, so the procedure here would be one of us makes a motion on one of the three candidates. That would be seconded, and then really we go from a vote there, but with three of us, that's pretty much it. Or alternatively, one of us could make a motion. If there's no second, that motion dies, and then somebody else will make a motion. Does that sound correct?
I would motion to elect Kelly Hansen for the Area 1 trustee position.
All right, do I have a second? All right, motion fails. Do we have another motion?
I move that we elect Jim Dooley for the vacant seat, trustee area 1.
Okay, motion for Jim Dooley. I will second that. Second motion for Jim Dooley. Call for the vote. Mr. Carlampio?
Aye.
Mr. Carlampio says aye. Mr. Jones says aye. Mr. Christensen?
I'll abstain at this point.
Abstain. Okay, motion carries?
1 second, Mr. President Jones.
Okay.
I think under the circumstances, if possible, it would be more ideal for there not to be an abstention on this matter because you are a small governing body right now for the board. But if there is a legal conflict that prevents you from voting on that, then that would be appropriate to abstain.
That's no problem. I was abstaining because I figured it was already voted 2 out of the 3. I didn't have to vote. I'll vote no.
And that's fine. You can vote no. It's just an abstention, really, especially when you have a small body right now. It's best to vote on all matters before the board at any time because, we need to have the voice of the board being heard through its individual members. And that's not just today, right? That's always, but of course, if there's ever a legal conflict, that would be something that would be appropriate to abstain on. But today, if a vote would be most appropriate.
I understand that. Is moving forward with a yes or no, it's already majority of the 2 of the 3, correct?
It's a majority with 2 of the 3, correct.
I'll hold my vote at no.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 yes votes. We have 1 no vote, so congratulations, Mr. Dooley. All right, I would like to thank everyone for their interest in serving on the board. The oath of office will take place at the beginning of our regular meeting, which will be in about a half hour or so. Okay? Adjournment, there being no further business to come before the board, this special meeting for February 13th, 2023 is adjourned at, I have 5:21 by President Jones. Thank you.